You're damned if you're wrong, and you're probably still damned if you're right too. To many people, this job description would sound like a nightmare, but in reality, it's just a short summary of some of the problems that football referees face. Football is known as the beautiful game. However, it is also one riddled with problems, both on the professional scene and on grassroots level in parks such as this, and the abuse given to those with the whistle is one of its worst.
Actually, they got to a point where I'd only given a yellow, and there were a couple of crowd members who clearly felt that it was a red card offence. I'd shown the yellow card, and I had a crowd member ask if I wanted a kicking like that, and you know, it's just one of those moments where you wonder why you're doing it.
You just feel like you want to be at home doing better things, like being with your friends, because you don't feel safe in those situations.
When someone on the other team's parents and the managers were so aggressive and abusive to me like the whole game that I actually, at the end of the game, went back to my car and just cried. But I was like, I don't want them to see me cry, so I made it back to the car. But it was, yeah, that was a real moment where I thought I'm actually going to have to give this up.
The role of a referee in football cannot be underestimated. The game simply cannot be played properly without a match official. However, 1 in 3 matches goes ahead without a referee due to the abuse they receive from players and parents. In 2017, a nationwide strike led by 18-year-old Ryan Hampson saw referees put down the whistle for a weekend because they felt that the FA wasn't doing enough to protect them. I want to find out whether referee abuse has decreased over the last 5 years or so, and what is being done to help ensure that this problem is stamped out of the game.
When any person is given the authority to organise and discipline a group of individuals, there will always be critics and disagreements. However, in football among other sports, questioning will come from the sidelines as well as the players, and scenes like this are not rare.
That was Stonewall! Referee, man!
Except this isn't questioning, this is abuse. The mental effect of being targeted and berated during a game is very damaging, and it's the reason why experienced Norfolk FA referee James Anthony quit officiating 11-side football at the age of 18 and has since stuck to youth or small-sided games.
So what I used to really struggle with, especially when starting out, is when people say, oh, you're dreadful at your job, ref, or what was that, or go to Specsavers, that old classic. And that's a real problem for me, and I think starting out at 16 years old, I wasn't very confident. And to have someone tell you you're rubbish at your job, someone who is supposed to be in less of a position of power to you, was really difficult. And you know, I know that we tell referees to use cards, we tell referees to speak up, but when you're 16 years old and you're going up refereeing pub teams, people who are double your age and telling you you're rubbish, you start to believe it, and that's really difficult to keep going in those conditions.
18-year-old Tom Dare says he endures constant abuse in what is his workplace each week. Further to being targeted, he feels the lack of help for referees is a major problem.
It can get quite wearing at times if the whole team sort of gangs up on you, and you know, you're sort of the victim, you know, you're sort of labelled as the reason for them losing the game. At times you often sort of ignore it, you sort of get used to it, you don't even see it as abuse when someone uses a swear word or calls you blind and whatever names under the sun. But you see a lot of the time players on Sunday leagues getting away with abuse just because it's the referee's word against the team's word. No one else is there on a match day, and therefore the players can get away with it because it's one word against the other. So
These are just 2 examples of referees highlighting flaws in the game. In fact, on average 7,000 officials quit each year due to the abuse they suffer. They can be replaced, but on average, football is losing tens of thousands of years of experience annually. And so I went to visit Senior Referee Officer Farai Hallam to hear what his and the FA's stance were on these figures.
First and foremost, one bit of abuse, one assault, one bit of bad behaviour towards any match official is one too many, and that's a challenge for the Football Association, but for football as a whole and all of the footballing family. And actually when those happen, I can understand why the media have an interest, and the media will create a story, but as you've said, that it is decreasing. The behaviour towards match officials is getting far better. Year upon year, you'll see an improving relationship between match officials and all participants in the game, particularly players and managers.
The FA have told me that there has been a 45% reduction in assaults over the last 2 years, that dissent has decreased by 38%, and that abuse overall is on the decrease, while help for referees is more available than ever. New initiatives such as sin bins have been brought in to prevent abuse, but for many referees the problem is far deeper than that, and those who I've spoken to have said that problems in the core of the game are those that need to be changed. This raised a question from me. Why does football seemingly attract more problems, and is this referee abuse a football problem? Bart O'Toole, Secretary of the London Referees Association, offered one explanation for this.
It does appear that football tolerates a higher level of questioning. In a sense, in rugby, there's much more control, it's more discipline, more respect shown to referees. The culture in football is different. Players expect referees to, first of all, to make the right decision all the time, and of course we make mistakes sometimes. Secondly, to explain their decisions if they don't understand whether they're right or wrong. And thirdly, if we've made the wrong decision, to let us know we've made the wrong decision. And that's not such a good thing, but that is a culture in football.
Colin Birkenell is the membership officer for the National Referees Association, as well as being a referee's mentor, and he had a more serious outlook on this problem.
I think the main cause that is given the abuse to the referees, I would initially say it's ignorance to the laws of the game, and in some cases, just sheer non-appreciation to the endeavours of the referee. I mean, after all, we wouldn't expect a first-year apprentice joiner, for example, to be able to fully second fix a house in a matter of months after starting his trade. And refereeing to a certain extent is similar. The referee, regardless of the age, needs to learn.
There we have two different reasonings as to why football referees could get more stick compared to officials in other sports. But I wanted to get the views of people who weren't part of the game. As well as being a football fan, Fraser Smith is a regional level hockey umpire, and he feels that discipline in football compared to hockey could be better.
I think referees take a lot more stick and don't really dish out as much punishment. I think in hockey you've got the 3-tier card system of green, yellow, red, whereas in football you've only got yellow and red, so I think it does make a big difference of just getting a yellow doesn't really mean anything, and then red and you're off. So they're a bit tentative to use it, whereas in hockey you can use a green, it's just 2 minutes, use a yellow, that's 5 minutes off, and then red is off for the rest of the game. So it's just a nice tiered system, like a nice ladder for punishment if you need it. The system is set up better in other sports to deal with that abuse a bit better, and I do think football referees, probably the focus is targeted towards football referees because they do get a lot more and they don't deal with it as much. I'm not saying it's a referee problem, it's probably a bit more of a top-down issue in my opinion.
Rugby is perhaps the more aggressive sport out of the three. However, the well-known saying that rugby is a thug's game played by gentlemen has not come round by chance. Godfrey Bancroft has experience of officiating in both rugby and football, and is also the chairman of the Norfolk and Eastern Counties Rugby Union Referee Society, and he agrees the structure and culture of football could be changed.
I think there's probably a low level of abuse in rugby as compared to football, partly because of tradition. There are very strongly established traditions in the game that you simply are not abusive to referees. But of course the other advantage is that which football referees appear not to have or choose not to apply, is that as a rugby referee, a yellow card means 10 minutes on the side, and that's detrimental to a team. And often the captains will be supportive of the referee in that context. They will intervene and quieten the player down and not just leave it to the ref. The other one, of course, is a classic signal of going like that and marching them back. I try not to do that if I can help it, and I'll often give them a quiet warning at some time away from the ball when there's a bit of downtime. But there are times when you can use that signal of talking too much, back you go, and that is extremely effective because the other players will then support the referee because they don't want to be giving away penalties within that context. It's what happens on the field where the governing bodies need to be more supportive of the referees in football. For example, what would happen in football if the referees were able to march a player back 10 metres? Or if a yellow card meant 10 minutes on the side? Who knows? Might be a decent experiment, because that seems to work in rugby.
Farai is aware that there are problems in football, but he insists that referee abuse is not a football problem alone.
Part of the FA's motto is to make football for all. But as part of that, you invite society, you invite every corner of society, which means naturally you get every corner of society come and are involved in our national game. And naturally with that brings some fantastic, brilliant moments, more females coming into the game, people from all sorts of diverse backgrounds. But also there's some negatives that come with it. Part of it is the behaviour that you see in everyday society. Some of it is reflected on a football field, and that's not what we want. Football works, and that's not just the Football Association. That when I say football, I mean all of footballing bodies, everyone involved in the game works and strives to make our game better. And that means by decreasing dissent, decreasing abuse, decreasing anything negative in our game, because we all want our young boys, young girls to grow up and fall in love with the game that we all love as well.
As Farai has mentioned, there are a few changes being made to help decrease referee abuse. One of these is the introduction of sin bins for dissent, with players being sent off for 10 minutes in a similar style to hockey if they are getting too mouthy towards the referee. There are also workshops and initiatives set up to help referees, and I went out to see how one of them worked.
One of the things offered to help the development and progression of referees are referee development days. I'm here at Arc Elvin Academy for one of the London FA's referee development days, where any referee, regardless of level 1 or level 7, come to be trained in a variety of areas to help them progress and hopefully hit the high level.
This development day encapsulated everything a referee needs to improve. As well as teaching sessions to help greater the understanding of the laws of the game, there were workshops to help improve anything from pre-match preparation to communication on the pitch. There was even a recovery and nutrition session in which referees were advised on both how to best recover after a game and what food they should eat to help minimise the likelihood of injuries. Aspiring officials were also put through their pace in a specifically arranged tournament where they were assessed and given feedback from a number of London FA staff, including Jamal Horn, who stressed that days like this are crucial for development and that referees should be looking to improve whether they are aspiring to referee at the top level or just casually.
The main aim is to make sure that our referees are sharpening their skills, keeping up to date with what referee coaches want to see, and most importantly, keeping them up to date with what FA observers want to see from referees, what they expect from them in terms of performance, in terms of how they conduct themselves, and also how clubs, because remember that clubs actually mark referees' performances, we also try to offer them skills, education, and training in regards to what clubs expect from referees in terms of performance, behavior, and conduct. I think referees need to do as much training as possible, not just fitness training, not just running, not just keeping themselves fit. It's also about understanding the laws of the game, understanding best practice techniques, and understanding and developing communication, because player management and how you interact with players is arguably the most important skill other than decision making. Also, contact your county FA, contact myself, anyone who worked within the national FA or your county FA, and find out what training opportunities are offered, and go to training as often as possible. Footballers who don't train don't play. Footballers who don't train don't improve. So you need to attend as many training sessions, practical, theoretical, indoor or outdoor, as often as possible. I'm living proof, several other referees are living proof. The more often you do that, the better the referee you become.
Results will not be instant. After all, the FA have been running respect campaigns for over 10 years now, but there are signs that indicate that things are being done to help stamp referee abuse out of football. Farai has assured me that not only will there be a focus on helping referees as a whole, but the FA will look in particular to help and develop younger referees to try and ensure that the alarming retention rate of those in their first few years as an official will improve.
90% of our new referees are under the age of 20. So we have a lot of young guys and a lot of young girls coming into the sport, and they want to progress. It's a real challenge, as any referee will tell you. No two games are the same. No new day will be the same as any other day you've experienced before. There is always some learning from a new game. But with any young person, life skills may not be there. It's things which you acquire traditionally what we'd say on the job. But we have a responsibility as the Football Association to train, educate and develop our match officials, whether you be 14 coming into refereeing or 40 coming into refereeing. And a large part of that is people skills, conflict management, communication, self-discipline, presentation. These are all fantastic life attributes that will do you good in any walk of life that refereeing can give to you.
It can be argued that unless action is taken on the professional scene, referee abuse will always be a part of football. However, it is hoped that with sin bins, better training and increased scrutiny of teams, managers, officials and people on the sidelines who give referees abuse, that this negative side of the game will be gone for good.